Imagine someone at this hotel stealing a valuable necklace. Miranda, don't climb on the couch. That'll teach you.
It's disturbing to think that the thief is still among us. The police ruled out a couple of the bright hands. They didn't find the necklace among the other stolen items.
Well, at least we weren't here when it happened. Otherwise, we'd be under suspicion, too. See, Frederica, there's another good reason for going on that tour. We missed out on being questioned by the police. At least it would have been more interesting than looking at flowers. We missed out the excitement here. Oh, come on, Miss Frumpet. Our tour wasn't all that bad. At least the food was pretty good. Speaking of food, remind me to eat some rails until Henrietta hires a new chef. Dinner was awful.
Everybody left the dining room while eating dessert. I bring tea up here.
I'm already full. I think I'm allergic to that.
Maybe later.
I've already tried that. I don't like it. I have a tummy ache. No thanks. That smells awful.
Sorry, I don't want to get sick.
I'm not hungry. I want Fudge bars!
No!
Nobody likes my cookie.
Edward, I want to leave this hotel.
Blanche, dear, how many times do I have to explain to you? We have to stay here until Detective Thornton is able to solve the case for us.
Why? So the thief can steal something else from me?
I promise that when this is all over, I'll take you somewhere else.
In the meantime, I'll probably die of food poisoning. Basil, watch where you're going!
Ah, Mr. and Mrs. Fairfax. Here you are. I've hardly had a chance to see how you are doing. Please consider the rest of your stay here is on the house.
What a bargain.
Henrietta, that's very kind of you. Thank you. Blanche and I need a bit of fresh air, so we're going out for a evening stroll. Come along, dear.
The police and that detective were looking all over for you.
I didn't want to get involved.
We're all involved. We looked mighty suspicious when you disappeared, right when it came to your turn to be questioned.
All will be revealed in good time.
Miss Clipperman, go gather your staff and guests. I've solved the case.
You have? Who's your assistant, Miss Reed?
Oh, she and I had a little disagreement about who was guilty of the necklace theft, so she ran off. She's going to start her own detective agency, but without me, she'll never survive.
I see. I'll go collect the guests from my staff. I guess you don't want the guests who are on the tour to join us, unless if it's one of them who's implicated in the theft.
Don't be ridiculous. What do you take me for? A fool? Where did you disappear to this afternoon?
That's my business.
Well, I could make it mine. You didn't show up to questioning. Perhaps my thief did have an accomplice. Now that would be interesting. Gather around all and listen to the genius of Phil Thornton as he describes to you the solution to the missing necklace.
Thank you, good fellow. I knew you could do it.
Oh, think nothing of it. It was easy. In fact, the police and I struck up a deal this morning to see who could solve the case first. As you will testify to them later, I was here first to explain the solution to you. I have posters and brochures advertising my agency. If, in the future, any of you find you need my expertise, I could give you those posters.
Thornton, just get on with it! We're all anxious to hear what you've discovered.
All right. It was Basil.
Me?
Don't act so surprised, Basil. It's always the bellhop who's guilty. Or is that the butler? Besides, doesn't it strike you people suspicious that he's clearly a native of Timbuktu, but he bears a quintessentially British name?
We just call him Basil because we can't pronounce his real name.
And what is his real name?
I just told you we can't pronounce
It
it.
doesn't matter. Basil is still the mastermind behind the necklace theft.
I'd like to know how he did it.
I'm getting to that. All of testified that you were asleep at the time of the theft. Except for Basil, he admitted that he was working the late shift at the front desk. 5 witnesses have testified to this, Mr. and Mrs. Fairfax and the 3 maids. He only pretended like he was asleep, just waiting for Mrs. Fairfax to drink the tea that he laced with a sedative. Then he crept up from behind and stole the necklace.
I knew it all along, sneaky little bellhop. Did you find my necklace, detective?
No, not yet, but I think I know where to find it. Come along, Basil.
Well, I'm glad that's over.
Me too. Imagine that little bellhop guy being a crook.
I don't believe it. I've worked with him for years and Basil would never do such a thing.
I agree with you, Miss Wyatt.
Thank you, Officer Black.
Basil isn't guilty. As usual, Thornton has all the facts messed up. It was a tough case to solve, but we finally cracked it.
We were able to narrow down a list of suspects once we searched the right-hands. We realized that they had stolen everything else in the hotel. They hadn't stolen Mrs. Fairfax's necklace.
We retrieved our missing evidence and recommended that Albert and Ingrid get some treatment for their compulsive behavior.
Then we examined the testimonials we had taken for any motives we could find. Initially, we looked at financial need as a motive.
This motive pointed to Henrietta Clifford because of her struggling hotel business and Stanley Larson for his debt problem. Finances might also have been a motive for any of the staff who've been poorly paid for several years.
But then we looked at other possible motives for this crime, such as jealousy and resentment. For example, we examined a coincidence that was too unusual to ignore.
The coincidence that Audrey Rochester and Edward Fairfax, formerly engaged, both in the United States, would end up in the same remote hotel in England.
One piece of evidence, a lady's diamond engagement ring, also led to our conclusion.
Audrey Rochester, you are our thief.
What? You haven't proven anything.
Confess, Audrey. Haven't you carried a resentment towards Blanche ever since Edward broke off your engagement 10 years ago? Don't you feel that all those diamonds along with Blanche's riches should rightfully belong to you? Your bitterness grew over the years and you finally decided to exact your revenge upon the Fairfaxes.
We found your engagement ring from Edward, the one you wear on a little chain around your neck. You probably didn't realize it was missing by the next morning. By then, it was too late.
It was very careless of you to show your ring out to one of the maids.
Audrey, is this true? You still keep the ring I gave you? And now you've gone and stolen my wife's necklace?
Yes, Eddie, it's true. I deserve the life that Blanche lives. The wealth, the fame, the travel. She took all that away from me.
I can't believe it.
I can. O'Doyle, take her down to the station. Officer Black, go and search Miss Rochester's room for the necklace.
Go!
There's just one thing I can't figure out, and it's bugging me. There remains the question about the monogrammed handkerchief with the initials S.A. on it. Who does it belong to?
I can answer that.
Ah, the mysterious Ms. X. So you've come out of hiding, have you?
She must be S.A.
No, I'm not S.A., but I'll tell you who is. Stanley Larson. Or shall I say, Stanley L. Larson. England's notorious arsonist.
That's absurd.
Ma'am, I think you better explain who you are before you start handing out accusations.
I'm Secret Agent X. I've been following the activities of Mr. Arson here for several months. I finally have enough evidence to put him away for a very long time.
So you have a handkerchief with some initials on it. You can't possibly incriminate someone with that. Besides, have there been any fires since I've been here, Miss Clifford?
Well, there have been a few kitchen fires, but that's only since Basil started cooking.
Miss Clifford, if all had gone according to plan, there would have been more than a few kitchen fires, wouldn't there?
I'm sure I don't know what you mean. Miss X, stop stalling and explain your story.
Chief Wakefield, let's re-examine Miss Clifford's and Mr. Arson's possible motives for stealing a diamond necklace.
Well, during our investigation, it became apparent that Henrietta Clifford's hotel business was going through financial strain. And as for Mr. Arson, well, he was apparently in debt and couldn't pay his hotel bill.
Didn't it strike you as a bit odd that Miss Clifford simply allowed Stanley to stay at her hotel without requiring a cent from him, especially since she needed the money?
Well, yes, that did cross my mind.
Henrietta Clifford's hotel business was struggling, so she decided to invite famous and wealthy people in hopes that this would bring her more business. When this didn't work, she